Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle book review of George Orwell, 1984. This is a graphic novel and it's by Fido Nesti. Now this book's got about 220 odd pages and it's from Penguin. The book just came out 2021, though apparently it was first published in Brazil last year. So what is it? It's a graphic novel all the way through, virtually all the way through. There's a little bit of writing, obviously it's writing with the dialogue, but there's also some bits of story in between, because there's a point where suddenly you find this book and it's got obviously a lot of pages from that book, so it's not completely all graphic novel. They haven't sort of made that bit graphic novel as well. In many ways that would have been nice if they'd actually just done that as a graphic novel. However, obviously they decided not to do that, but it is colour predominantly all the way through, so you've got there, but it's very muted colours all the way through, very muted. And let's get into sorry. Now, actually, before I go any further, this is one of my favourite books, 1984. I love this, and it's the only one that I've got a first edition of. So, a very tatty first edition. I've had this for years and years and years and years. Not all the way back from 1948, I should point out. However, Secker and Warburg. Unfortunately, because it doesn't have, of course, the red or blue or green or whatever it is sleeve, it's probably enough worthless, because, of course, you need it in pristine book sleeve around it. I've never been interested in that sort of thing. To me, meaningless. But I know book collectors love that sort of thing, and rightly so. However, I get the same with books as well. I'm very protective of my books, and that's why sometimes when I look at the books, you can see slight smudge marks there, and you go, want to clear that off. However, cover's absolutely glorious. As soon as I saw this in the bookshop, and I saw it in Gosh, I love Gosh up in London. It's one of my favourite stores to pop in. They've always got great selection of things and always picking up books. And this one, as soon as I saw it, 1984, quick flick through to make certain it was actually decent. And this is decent in terms of that I appreciate the artwork. Sometimes you get books and you think, not really for me. Even though it might be on a subject book that you really love. 1984. However, let's get into the book itself. 1984. Of course, there's a point where he actually turns around and says he doesn't know if this is 1984. That's the whole point of the story. In fact, who knows? It could be any year. It could be 2050. It could be 4 million. Whatever. It doesn't matter anymore. The past is what basically the present. The people that control the present control the past. And that's the story all the way through. Everything you believe, you don't know. Because 5 seconds later, it could be something else. 1 minute we're fighting this. 1 minute there's an Indian variant. 1 minute there's something else. Who knows? There's a Ken variant. Oh, hang on. That's now. But however, are we certain, are we? Who knows? But this actually, fake news and all those sort of things, all of this comes into this. It's quite amazing, this book. Obviously, the internet doesn't exist in this way, but in a sense, there is the internet in this. You got the TV. Literally, it communicates back and forth. It's literally spying constantly. A very familiar world, I suppose we should say. However, hopefully this world never happens, because it would be the most hellish world. And maybe some people turn around and say, you know what, we're in this world already. And who knows? This is so depressing. Big Brother is watching you. And you've got this absolutely superb. And the story just goes along the pace. I'm obviously familiar with the book, so it does flow, There's bits obviously missed out. It would be unless there isn't, but I don't think there's any way you could actually do the whole of this book as a graphic novel. It'd be 4,000 pages, because there'll be a lot of information you'd have to put in things. So there's going to be obviously a bit of thing. But you got Winston here. You got Winston keeps his back to the telly screen because of course he doesn't want to show his emotions, which is a bit stupid, because by doing that you've straight away given away that you are intending some sort of thing. You've revealed yourself by the sheer act of doing that. So that's a dead giveaway. But you've got all these sort of places, and I love this one. You got the building there. Now that's based apparently on the building where he worked. George Orwell worked, Eric Blair, and you've got the Ministry of Truth, and of course it's the Senate building in London University, the library. and other, obviously, departments. I love that library. One of my favourite all-time libraries. I was a member for quite a while, and I love just going there and just think. But every time I always go up to it, I always look up and think 1984. There's always somehow but it's just one of the most beautiful, especially down the bottom. It's got this, that's nothing to do with the book. But you've got here Winston, he's got a diary, he's writing a diary, he's writing this thing, and he puts little things in to make certain that, no one's opened it. But, well, they are all seeing. We know the state rules with an iron fist, or as it says, a boot forever. And there's obviously some spoilers, but there's not spoilers particularly, because the relentlessness, the dystopian world of 1984. There's no need to say what the story. There is no, they control the past, they control the present, they control the future. And there's this war that's going on in this world. This war is it going on? And you've got obviously the kids everyone's sort of wrapped up in this thing, this conflict that everyone is spying on people, everyone. So you can't trust anyone in this world. And that relentlessness is shown by this greyness just relentlessly beating down on him as he sort of sits there, drawn his face, everything about him. Winston was dreaming his mother. And actually that's some ways, I think, shown more than, maybe it was in the book as well. I don't know. Maybe I just ignored that bit. But sometimes this is one thing I like about a graphic novel. So you've got Winston, you've got this, actually, I love the way they've drawn the sheets there. And you've got a big 3 there and you've got his mother, sort of, and the fact, obviously, he just vaguely remembers various things he did, whatever, and the relationship he's got with his mum. And then I love this this is one scene in the book that I always think that's pretty, where you got the 2-way telescreen feature that comes up, that sort of was more, I found, quite chilling. And it's not so what's named in here as much, but still. But it's this world of, it's just beautiful. Absolutely stunningly brilliant story. Just infinitely depressing. Now, I don't feel that you get so much about his workplace. That there's a bit about the work. Obviously, you've got sort of all the various people. And the thing is, of course, you got people at work. You go to work with these people. Next day, they're not there. And everyone's got this thing that they don't mention it. So you get one, there's a bit where he turns around and says, I can't remember. There's near enough literature, but it's a subtle sort of thing. You just your brain into that person never, ever, ever existed. And this is all the way through. And this horrible world, it is definitely the world after the war as well. You've got that sort of, and you've got things where he goes and visits a prostitute, and it's just sort of, that's horrific. Those sort of bits, those pages, just the way it's done, the way the conflict, the way that world, and also about this brotherhood, this imaginary. It's sort of like Logan's Run, where you've got the sanctuary, this sort of distant thing that everyone believes, but maybe isn't there. But Big Brother's all the way through. And of course, who knows if Big Brother exists? Doesn't matter. It's this organisation, the party, whatever it is, business. It all is pervasive. And you've got obviously the pros, as they call the working class. Though I must admit, I always struggle with that. I always think to myself, what the party, and you got the other people, because these people would not totally disconnect themselves, surely, from looking at what's happening around them. They must see that, or they're just so interested in the cigarettes or fags or whatever. I don't know what they call them in this, but you've got all the various people who are drinking, going out for drinking, and you've got talk about gin and things. And when he does actually come to have times when something's slightly better quality, he doesn't know how to appreciate it anymore. That's removed from him. It's completely, utterly removed. But you've got this sort of solitary figure, and this got obviously this woman that great. I don't want to say that. And you've got more depressing. It's all very, very muted. So if you're looking for a cheerful, upbeat, happy read, no. But if you want to read certainly for me, one of my favourites, great thing. And I really love these adaptations, and if they're done well into a graphic novel. Now, some graphic novels I've had over the years, they're like 20 or 30 pages, Moby Dick, and 30 pages, which is good because you sum up the story. It's a nice, summary, but you do want a bit more substance to add to the story, and it's added to the story. I must admit, there's things in this that when I'm looking at it, I think to myself, Now, of course, this is an interpretation. This is a sort of seeing that world of thing. You'll see, but you're seeing obviously it's in your mind when you're reading the book, but here it's suddenly, and of course in the films as well, the brilliant, loads of, been quite a few adaptations, not as many as you would think really. And actually I would love to see more of George Orwell's books, some of his obviously Homage to, etc., Wigan Pier, and many others. Keep the Aspidestra Flying, those sort of things would be nice. However, I did mention that there's actually a bit where he's reading this book, Ingsoc, and of course that's the thing about that actually is not so much pervasive, which is weird because in the back you've got a sort of a nice little section here talking about all the doublespeak and things. You've got all that sort of stuff, but really doing the book, I must admit I didn't really feel that they really went overboard with all that sort of references to various words, renaming words, changing words, and obviously George Orwell being a writer, that sort of obsession of ungood, double ungood, triple ungood, ungood, triple ungood, double speak, whatever, that sort of thing. That's the important thing as well. The way that change the word, you end up creating a dictionary where it's reduced down to virtually nothing. You just make it sort of everything becomes, and you controlling virtually the whole range of thought by that, to the point where do people bother even reading the books if they can find books? Of course, everything's tatty in this thing as well. However, this is going on about more than the actual graphic, which I found went along at a great pace all the way through it. I just thought the artwork was just superb and very depressing at times, but a thoroughly enjoyable read. I know that sounds a bit a double thought on the thing, that you can have both. So war is peace and all that sort of stuff you got there. Freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. Actually, I love the way they've done the searchlights there. That's pretty good as well. I love this book. This is an absolute great. I'm really glad I bought it. 1984, George Orwell, the graphic novel. Definitely, totally recommended.